All right, quiet on the shit, everyone. Quiet on the shit. Quiet. Quiet on the shit.
Welcome to the official channel for Evo Productions. I'm Emily. This is Jay, and this is Rios. Introduce yourself, Rios.
Hello, I'm Rios.
You have heard all of our lovely voices before this, but you've only seen Jay and I's beautiful faces, and now you get to see Rios, who we promise is not dead, because he's here.
We didn't kill him.
All right, today's video is the third out of 46, right?
46 sounds definitely like too few.
Is that whenever we're done with it all? Like 46 and we're just kaput, like we're done? Or
No, well, we were just thinking about like how many of these videos we want to make specifically talking about Synestria and the world of it, and we were working on something between like 5 to like 300, but we didn't really determine an exact number. So
no more projects, just Synestria from now on.
Yeah. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be covering the races of Synestria, which are fundamentally and completely different than D&D. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into the races, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Healden. Basically, the Healden are humans. Healden is a word, an elvish word for human. And essentially, our humans live a little bit longer than most normal humans because it's a world with magic and arcane healing and things like that. And most of the normal like diseases or injuries you would suffer in the medieval ages or like for us, the Elizabethan times are absolutely just like not relevant to these people. And so because of that, our humans live to be anywhere from like on average 150 years all the way up to perhaps like the oldest living human was Healden was probably like 200 something, like 210 maybe, somewhere in there. And that's like that really like at that point they're totally debilitated, bedridden for the rest of their life kind of people. But it's a significantly longer lifespan. Healden's strengths lie in the same strengths that our human strengths do. They are capable of building things to solve problems. They can solve problems on their own, sure, but the best thing that they can do are create machinations and technologies in order to solve these problems. And they are the group that does that. Everyone else looks up to and is impressed by or influenced by Healden craftsmanship, not necessarily like blacksmith and stuff like that, but like machinations, machinery, and tools. Other than that, they tend towards convocation magic, the ability to summon things from other planes as a source of arcane power. Stilts Guardians are very different from the Healden, but yet quite similar. They are basically like if you took a Healden and ran through a taffy machine, that's a Stilts Guardian. They're much taller and skinnier and more angular, but they also, while having the same age and lifespan, they live it differently. Their society is built around this idea of being able to use different alchemy and alchemical potions and tonics and things like that to modify their own physical being. And the most common usage of this is in order to slow and lessen the negative effects of aging. And so they will constantly look like no older than like middle age. And beyond that, when they get into their highest years, like their average tends to be like closer to 180. And when they get up there, they're not debilitated at all. Like a 180-year-old, super gray, super wrinkled, old Stilts Guardian dude is still going to be out on the battlefield fighting like he's in his 40s. In addition, the Stilts Guardians' strengths come from their martial combat, mostly due to these tonics, but also due to their heritage and their different fighting styles and things like that, specifically with swords. And arcanely, they tend towards necromancy, to the point, so much so integrated into their society, that you will see skeletons and zombies used instead of servants in some places.
All right, today I'm going to be talking about the Marians. Marians are from Scarlasia, it would be this way. And they're these kind of darker toned people with these bright emerald eyes. And a big thing about them is they wear masks. And a mask to them is a way to hide their true face. You know, it's a big thing in their society. They don't ever really reveal it much. It's just a way for them to hide intentions. But on the opposite of that, their weapons, they don't do that. They wear it right there. They don't hide any weapons. It's not a thing for them. And they're really, really, really proficient with crystallization magic. All right, now we're going to get to one of my personal favorite races, one that I actually worked on a lot. They're the Visterians. They're these about 3'5" little dudes. For the longest time, about maybe 200 years, don't quote me on it, they were enslaved by the Marians. Wasn't so happy, but, they had to kind of be, because the thing about them is they are cursed to constantly be happy. If they're not happy, then they begin to slowly burn. We call this ashing, and they just ash. That's what happens when they get a little too sad and in their feels. So ashing goes on for about maybe a week or, possibly longer, depending on how up and down they go. It's a constant battle to not ash whenever they find themselves in a pit of depression. One thing that me and my partner could wholeheartedly agree on, and it was something that we noticed in a lot of fantasies, that dwarves are pretty fucking lame. We wanted to do something to spice them up a bit. A lot of people tried their own things, and, our dwarves are dead. And from the ashes of their, dead bodies came the Geld. Our Geld have hands for feet, so they got 4 hands. And they're a little slow, it's kind of weird walking with hands. But they're also very attuned with what we call winter magic. It's kind of like this cold electric power. And they're immortal. That's another big thing about them. They can't be killed. They can't be killed by natural causes. It usually comes from an outer force. And they're really, really fucking strong. Really, really fucking strong. But in this world, even the strongest things have a weakness. For example, they don't need to eat, right? They're immortal. By not eating, they're not used to toxins. So let's say that they get poisoned. Their liver's not used to that. They're more susceptible to it. They have a weakness towards that. Just like everything else that's super strong in our world. Everything has a weakness. So those are the Geld.
Orcs. Orcs are very simple, very understood in most fantasies. And if you know anything about me or how I tell stories or how I build worlds, I don't like doing things simple or direct. So orcs in our world are fairly different. They are still very combat-oriented, and their intelligence will come into question a lot when they are met with other races. However, their intelligence is not their strength. It doesn't need to be. And honestly, neither is their strength. Their strength comes mostly in tactics and in group dynamics. They are tribe-based. They're family-centered, and they use that as their greatest power, because you will never really find just one orc. And that's a scary thing, because on top of that, they're very strong, and they're very skilled. Skilled in what? Well, you see, orcs in our world are demon-born. They are the brood of a demon called Tyriok. And essentially, this gives them innately power over a certain type of necromancy. And this necromancy allows them to take the energy of others and put it into themselves, some of them. But base level, no matter what, orcs can rise from the dead once a day, which is a traditional ability that they have in Dungeons and Dragons, but the way that we do it in our world is that it is this innate thing that was given to them, this thing that's understood by everyone in the world, that if you take out an orc, you're gonna have to do it again. As Rios said, in Synestria, every strength has a weakness, and the orcs are no different. Their strength, true innate physical strength and martial prowess, is linked to this innate rage and anger that they have that's hard for them to control on most occasions. In addition, this anger wells in them physically and often leads to heart complications, high blood pressure, and other very unfortunate things as they get later into their, typically on average, about 100 years of life. Now, we get to the elves. The elves in our world are born of powerful elemental spirits known as the Zale. They are descendants of these creatures, and because of this, each of them, each type of elf, has an innate connection to some sort of elemental energy. The Geld are different. they were not a type of eld. Their magic comes from a different place. Elves in our world live to be about twice the age of Hylden, around 300 on average to 400 long. And over the course of it, it's not until that end of their life, that 300 to 400 period, that last century, that they really start to show signs of age, physically or mentally or emotionally. Their weakness often comes in their long lives. It comes from their inability to maintain things because the world around them does not last as long as they do. While there were many types of elves, currently there are only 3 that remain, and it's not entirely sure how many there were before in the ages past. The first that we will speak about today are the Derisani, known as the Scorch Elves. They find their home to the north in the deserts of the northern Scorch lands. They have innately a connection to fire or scorch magic and are capable of doing things like conjuring swords out of pure fire. They have scales on their body, and in some cases can even conjure those scales in order to protect themselves. Their culture is very interesting because it is based in many cultures. They are wanderers and nomads, and so a lot of their culture is found in other parts of the world, and also in their own part of the world is found many other cultures. They are naturally cold-blooded, typically fairly average height, with smooth features, reddish skin tones, and thin but still quite muscular forms.
Hello, I'm going to be running you guys through Rhianna, another race of elves in Synestria. They are located in the south of the continent of Ronza in a place called the Aclast. The thing about the Aclast is it is a demon-ridden frozen wasteland. And the only reason the Rhianna have been able to survive in a place like this is, one, because they are warm-blooded, extremely warm-blooded, and that means that they don't get cold. But also, they are extremely resourceful and very talented hunters. Because of their environment and the predators in their environment, they've developed unique weapons and tools. The most recognizable of these tools being the ghost strings. Ghost strings are named as such because, like a string, you can manipulate something from afar as if a string was tied to it, but like a ghost, you cannot see the string. This allows the wielder of said ghost strings to do many things. One is, like I said, manipulate things from afar, but also it can allow them to cut and slice as they wish. Something else to note about the ghost strings is that no one is really for sure if it is a power, a tool, or some kind of weapon they have created. Because of the Rhianna's seclusion in the Aclast, as well as some
violent genocide
history they have with bordering nations, they are extremely secretive about their ways, and the ghost strings are one of their biggest mysteries.
I am here to talk about the Auxerai. They are the last of the 3 remaining elf groups. The Auxerai live in the northeastern part of Synestria on a group of islands called the Shard Islands. It's a very tropical location, and this suits them very well because of their innate water magic, which allows them to do things like breathe for hold their breath for a very long period of time. Sometimes upwards of 15 minutes, as well as to manipulate the water around them to propel them through the water, increasing their swim speed, and even to attack with it if that becomes necessary. They have a very interesting philosophy about life, which they call the cycle. And essentially, it's not necessarily a religion, but it's this belief that everything has a purpose and that every single entity, every single creature, every single event happens for a reason that will ultimately serve a greater good purpose. And they live this throughout their entire lives, and it's very integral to their society.
Hi guys, I'm an imposter filling in for Jay Hansen, here to talk to you about the Hoos. So, the Hoos are basically these giant, blubbery people. They are, like the Orcs, a race of demon brood. And they're born from, instead of a giant boar, like Tyriok, a giant whale whose name I can't pronounce even though I made it up myself. they have the ability to, with their blubber, literally consume and like reflect blows, because basically the fat like retracts in and pushes the weapon back out. So that's dope. And then on top of that, because they're not big enough already, they are the biggest race. They stand typically around 7 to 8 feet tall. They have the ability to also magically expand themselves every like once in a while to become even larger than that, like another size category larger. In addition, culturally, they are typically pirates because they're islanders. They live in the same area, the Eastern Shards, with the Auxerei. They have very short lifespans generally, due to the fact that their bodies, their massive fat bodies, tend to be prone to things like diabetes and heart conditions and blood clots and stuff like that. Hus are generally very androgynous. They very much enjoy covering their bodies in jewels and jewelry in order to sort of like accentuate their fat and just what they recognize as beautiful forms, regardless of like how they look great, and they know it.
Okay, so that's it. That's all the races we're going to talk to you guys about today. Some of those races you definitely will be encountering in our live stream of Gryffindale, which dates for that will be coming soon. Just subscribe to our channel, like the video, comment down below, and go follow us on our social medias, because that is where we will be posting all of our updates. Also, if you would like to become a supporter on Patreon, all of these races will be available in PDF format if you become a patron, and you will be able to see all of the statistics we're using. In addition, there will also be homebrew classes that we'll be posting and other things related to Synestria and Gryffindale if you become a patron that you'll have access to, and those things will be getting updated every single month. So if we test something and decide it's too overpowered or doesn't have enough power, we will change that in the rules, and that will be updated if you need to be a if you continue to be a subscriber.
Oh, don't
Like, comment, and subscribe. We love you guys. Thanks for everything. We hope you liked our video, and there will be more coming in the very soon time that might be a lot, but it might also be a little. We'll tell you on all the social medias where you can go and find us there, and it'll be great. Thank you.